I will argue that Dada was an inclusive artistic movement which provided American women artists with a platform to promote radical feminism, display the abilities of women, and uphold the rights of women to equal that of men. As the United States exited the First World War, having asserted itself as one of the world's most dominant powers and the height of the women's suffrage movement raged on, American artists depicted these contemporary social anxieties in their artwork. One of those artists was Beatrice Wood, who has become to be recognized as the mother of Dada. Following the economic downturn caused by the First World War and the presence of the suffrage movement and women's rights, women were moving into the workplace, a traditionally male space. Artwork, such as Career Woman, created by Beatrice Wood, illustrated the imposing threat of women felt by many of the men that composed the dominant culture. In Wood's highly unconventional and radically feminist work, it is made clear that the female figure is dominating the hierarchy, as she is at the forefront, engaging the audience, and is balancing on top of the male figure who is lying flat. The female's success in the workplace is juxtaposed with her nudity to make a strong feminist statement about her intelligence and abilities. The artistic movement in which Beatrice Wood and other female artists were able to work successfully was a revolutionary avant-garde movement of the early 20th century entitled Dada. The initial Dadists were a group of revolutionaries located in Germany that promoted anti-war sentiments and displayed these feelings of distrust of conventional social systems in their artwork. Dada was brought to America by refugees and was nurtured by artists and patrons such as the Arnsberg family. The Arnsbergs collected modern artworks and supported the artists through both patronage and hospitality. In America, the movement resonated with citizens who were feeling discouraged and anxious about the shifting social structure. Many did not feel that the traditional way of life was enough to explain these new experiences in the modern day and turned to nihilism. Nothing had meaning. In response, much of the artwork created by Dadaists reflected social anxieties and supported a radical political statement. Wood was a successful female Dadaist because she exhibited her individualism and subjective personal anxieties through her artwork. Traditionally, the dominant culture enforced a strict gender binary which permitted men to have the privilege to enjoy sex for the purpose of pleasure, but restricted women from this luxury. Within this gender binary, the dominant culture prescribed that women must only engage in sex for reproduction, subordinating the female body and female existence by placing her sole purpose on the action of procreation. Wood illustrated the naivety of traditional gender stereotypes supported by the dominant culture to subordinate the importance of female sexuality and purpose by exhibiting herself as a sexual being publicly in her social life and through the drawings and paintings she created. Woman Who Could Not Make Up Her Mind, created by Wood, depicts a woman, likely Wood herself, placed between two unknown male figures. The three figures seem to be leaning in towards the center of the artwork for a kiss, bringing the focal point to the female's lips. The female character is stuck between two men and is not sure which lover to choose. Wood went against the confinement of gendered expectations and stereotypical feminine morality. A Little Water and Some Soap was one of Wood's first Dadaist creations. The artwork depicts a female figure standing naked in the bathtub. The pubic mound of the figure is actually covered with a seashell-shaped bar of soap. Wood had planned to paint the bar of soap there to provide coverage for the figure, but Duchamp, a lover, close friend, and artistic mentor, advised her to glue a real bar of soap to the artwork. The seashell brought the focal point of the artwork to the female reproductive center and made a physical connection between the artwork and the real female body, encouraging women to own their own body and sexual agency. Another of Wood's artworks that shows her deviance from the sexual restrictions placed on women is Beatrice Waiting for Marcel. The Wood illustrates Wood owning and publicly announcing her sexuality. Such an action was radical and highly unconventional for the time, as women were not permitted to have sexual agency. Wood profoundly brought the privacy of the bedroom into public light, as she illustrated herself awaiting the arrival of one of her many lovers, Marcel Duchamp. Like Beatrice Wood, Clara Tice was also engaged in depictions of feminist thought through her controversial wardrobe, behavior, and her Dadaist artwork. Tice wore short skirts and attributed the overall attractiveness of women not only on their outward appearance, but also on their intelligence and ability. She often painted and sketched miniatures of herself and other recognizable women in the nude, and embellished these drawings with images of cats, butterflies, and exotic birds. Tice exemplified feminist ideologies in the Dadaist movement in works such as Blacks and Whites of Clara Tice and Who's Who in Manhattan. Beatrice Wood and Clara Tice were both intelligent and independent women that promoted radical feminist ideologies and pushed for gender equity through example. Each woman saw the potential in the Dadaist movement as well as the turmoil caused by World War I and women's suffrage during the early 1900s to rebel against the structural boundaries placed on women. Despite the lack of change, the artworks created in the Dadaist movement by artists such as Wood and Tice are still very visible today, and their messages are as strong as ever.